You arrive in Coronado with a shaved head and nothing else that matters. 186 men stand beside you on that beach. Within weeks, most of them will walk to a brass bell, pull their helmets from their heads, and ring it 3 times. Each strike says the same thing: I'm done. The instructors don't care who you were before you got here. Your college degree, your athletic records, your hometown heroics, irrelevant. What they want to know is simpler and more brutal than any question you've ever been asked: how long until you break? They start finding out immediately. 6 kilometers through soft sand that swallows every step. 3 kilometers in the Pacific with fins that strip the skin from your heels by mile 2. Then a 200-pound log hoisted above your head alongside your boat crew. And the first real lesson of this place reveals itself. If one man fails, everyone pays. The strongest guy in your class, the one doing pull-ups for fun during breaks, quits on day 9. He walks to the bell in silence, drops his helmet in the growing pile beneath it, and strikes 3 times. The instructors placed hot coffee and donuts beside that bell deliberately. Former candidates sit eating peacefully while you watch from the other side of suffering. 3 more ring before lunch. Then Hell Week arrives. 5.5 days, roughly 4 hours of sleep, not per night, total. It begins Sunday at midnight with explosions, freezing water hoses, and instructors screaming contradictory orders into the dark. You run over 200 miles. You carry boats on your head until the skin separates from your skull. You sit in January Pacific surf until the man beside you thinks you're having a seizure from shivering so violently. By Wednesday, you're hallucinating. A teammate holds a full conversation with someone who isn't there. 75% of your class quits during Hell Week. You don't. Not because you're harder than the men who rang that bell. Some of them were stronger than you, faster, better athletes. They quit because their minds told them to stop, and they listened. The only difference between you and them is that you didn't. That's it. That's the whole secret. But there's no celebration waiting. All you've proven is that you can't quit, and here that only earns you the right to begin. The Rookie. Buds finishes, then 26 more weeks of qualification, combat diving, land warfare, demolitions. Eventually, someone pins the trident to your chest. You are an E4, the lowest operational SEAL rank that exists. When you reach your first team, the lesson comes fast. You are nobody. The men around you have combat deployments, real scars, and the kind of quiet authority that can't be faked. So your job is clear: carry the heaviest gear, clean weapons that aren't yours, and keep your mouth shut. Your platoon chief, an E7 with over a decade of combat, can read terrain the way other people read facial expressions. One night he tells you a compound is occupied based solely on a dog barking differently than expected. Seconds later, automatic fire erupts from every window. You file that away. Your first deployment lasts 6 months. Night raids, doors taken off hinges at 2 a.m., hours waiting on rooftops listening to gunfire below. Your first firefight lasts 11 minutes. When it ends, your hands shake for a long time afterward. Your chief notices. He says nothing. His hands shook once too. The Operator. 2 deployments behind you. You know the rhythm now. 18 months of training for every 6-month rotation, thousands of rounds weekly until reloading becomes as unconscious as breathing. You specialize. You become the breacher, the man who opens doors, sometimes with explosives, sometimes with a ram, sometimes with a shotgun loaded with penetrator rounds. You learn exactly how much C4 is needed to destroy a hinge without killing everyone on the other side. The answer depends on the door, the frame, the material, the standoff distance. If you calculate wrong, people die. Your third deployment changes you permanently. Intelligence says the target is alone. He isn't. There's a woman and 2 children in the back room. The target grabs one of the kids, holds him as a shield, and reaches for a weapon. Your teammate takes the shot because there is no other option. The round passed centimeters from the child's head. The child is not physically harmed. You think about that adverb, physically, for months afterward, the way it covers something without actually covering it. After that, the deployments blur. Different countries, different languages, same mission. You notice the work is changing you in ways you didn't anticipate. You're becoming better at violence and worse at everything else. You can clear a room in under 4 seconds, and you cannot sit through dinner without cataloging every exit and every stranger's hands. Your girlfriend asks if you're okay. You say yes, because that's what you were trained to say, and because the truth would require emotions you're no longer sure you can still access. The senior operator. 6 years in, and you're responsible for the new guys who remind you of yourself. Eager, undertrained, completely certain they're invincible. You know better now. You've carried enough flag-draped caskets to understand what happens when confidence outpaces judgment. A man from your second platoon took a corner too fast during a raid. The burst of automatic fire found the gap beneath his plate carrier. The medic worked on him while the rest of the team finished clearing the building, because the mission doesn't stop for casualties until the structure is secure. He was 24 years old. You manage training schedules, equipment maintenance, readiness reports. For every hour of combat, 1,000 hours of administration. You enlisted to be a warrior. You've become a manager who occasionally breaches doors. The transition is disorienting until you understand why it matters. The preparation is what keeps people alive. Your body is keeping score. Knees that crack from thousands of parachute landings, a back that protests the memory of carrying 80-pound loads through mountains and desert, partial hearing loss on the left side from a breaching charge that detonated too close. You wrap your ankles, swallow ibuprofen like it's nutrition, and tell the team medic you're fine. The medic knows everyone lies. The chief. The most important rank in naval special warfare isn't officer. It's E7, the chief. 16 men under your direct leadership. Your platoon commander is a lieutenant, 4 years younger than you, a decade less experienced, never been shot at. He's sharp and motivated. Your job is to translate his plans into reality without anyone dying and without making him feel like you're actually running his platoon, even though you are. Then comes the deployment that defines you. A night raid on a compound housing a bomb maker whose devices have killed 14 Americans in 6 months. Intelligence is solid. The plan is solid. Everything goes wrong anyway. The entry point is barricaded. Your breach fails on the first attempt. The target opens fire through the walls. One of your teammates takes a round that grazes his femoral artery. You drag him behind cover, apply a tourniquet so tight he screams, call for the quick reaction force, and continue directing the assault while bullets punch through the plaster 6 inches from your head. Target eliminated. Operator survived after 8 months of rehabilitation. Mission classified as a success. You write the after-action report on the helicopter home with his blood drying on your gloves. Almost no one will ever read it. Somehow, that makes the whole night heavier. Not the secrecy, but the indifference of a world that will never know what that evening cost.
The marriage. Your marriage ended during your 5th deployment. She called it irreconcilable differences. What it actually was, you left for 6 months at a time and returned as someone she recognized less each time, because every deployment stripped away something civilian and replaced it with something operational. She found you at 3 a.m. standing in the backyard scanning the tree line for threats that don't exist in the suburbs of Virginia Beach. Your kids are 8 and 11. Your son stopped asking when you're coming home and now counts the days on the kitchen calendar by himself. Your daughter drew a family portrait in school. You aren't in it, not because she forgot you, but because the teacher asked her to draw the people who live in her house. You keep the drawing in your locker. You look at it before every deployment. It hurts in a way that bullets never managed. The divorce rate in the SEAL community runs near 90% by some estimates. The men who stay married either married extraordinary people, got lucky, or both. Everyone else accumulates ex-wives, child support payments, weekends that never feel long enough, and phone calls from deployment that come in the wrong time zone and end with someone crying. You can train for bullets, you cannot train for this kind of loneliness. The senior chief. 20 years in, your body is a catalog of accumulated damage. 2 knee replacements, a fused vertebra, tinnitus so constant you've forgotten what silence actually sounds like, a shoulder rebuilt with titanium after a fast rope insertion went wrong on your 8th deployment. You coordinate training cycles, deployment calendars, and equipment across the entire command. You deploy less now. When you do, you stand in tactical operations centers watching drone feeds of raids you would have led 5 years ago. You feel something unexpected, envy. You miss the simplicity. Door, breach, clear, next room. Now everything is meetings, logistics, and risk assessments written for people in Washington who have never heard a shot fired in anger. You've started attending funerals of men who didn't die in combat, suicides. 4 in 2 years within your extended community. One was a man you mentored from his first platoon. You taught him wind calculations for long-range shooting, stood beside him at his wedding, spoke to him 3 weeks before he died. He laughed about something his kid did. You believed him, because believing was easier than asking the questions you knew the answers to might demand something from you. At the memorial, his mother looks at you like you might be someone to blame. You don't have answers. You just show up, because showing up is what leaders do. The Master Chief, the highest enlisted rank in the United States Navy. Thousands of operators and support personnel across multiple teams. You sit in Pentagon meetings where people who have never worn a plate carrier make decisions. You testify before oversight committees in language that is carefully honest and strategically incomplete, because that's how the game is played at this level. You review after-action reports looking for the line between acceptable risk and recklessness. You sit in living rooms with Gold Star families. You look at photographs of men you sent into situations where dying was a realistic outcome. Sometimes a mother asks if her son suffered. You tell her no. You don't always know if that's true. Your second marriage survived because she was a nurse. She understood broken people and didn't need you to be whole. She sits with you on the nights when the dreams come back. She doesn't ask what you dreamed. She makes coffee and stays beside you until your breathing settles. She is the reason you haven't become one of the statistics whose funerals you keep attending. You know it. You tell her sometimes. Not enough. The Trident. The retirement ceremony is small by design. A team room in Virginia Beach, 50 people, no politicians, no generals, just operators and chiefs, men who crossed the same thresholds you did and came out the other side. Your commander reads a citation that is technically accurate and emotionally insufficient. 11 deployments, 9 combat rotations, a Silver Star for carrying a wounded teammate 400 meters under fire while returning fire with your secondary weapon. The citation doesn't mention you were also wounded at the time. You didn't notice until the adrenaline dropped and the medic pointed to the blood running down your arm. They build a shadow box with your trident, your rank insignia, your patches, your coins, a career reduced to objects behind glass. You move near the water because you've spent your entire adult life near an ocean and no longer know how to exist without the sound of waves. You mentor young operators who call asking about deployments, marriages, and the darkness that settles in during the quiet months. You tell them the trident is the most important thing they'll ever earn and the most dangerous thing they'll ever carry, because it becomes your entire identity if you let it. Some of them listen, most nod and walk back into the team room because they're 26 and invincible. You were too. You tell them anyway. The cycle. Somewhere in Coronado right now, a new class is forming.
180 candidates standing in pre-dawn darkness, staring at a brass bell they've sworn never to touch. They've watched the documentaries, they've read the books, they dream about the trident. They have no idea what it costs. They don't know about the marriages that won't survive the fourth deployment, about children who draw family portraits without fathers in them, about funerals for men who survived every gunfight but couldn't survive the quiet that came after, about the titanium joints and the ringing that never stops, and the 3 a.m. perimeter checks around a suburban house where nothing is coming. They don't know that the pin on that trident will become the heaviest thing they'll ever carry. Heavier than a ruck, heavier than a wounded teammate, heavier than any door they'll ever breach. They only know one thing right now, standing on that dark beach with hearts hammering. They will not ring the bell. Most of them will. The ones who don't will become the most capable warriors on the planet and strangers to the people who love them. Ghosts moving through their own lives, carrying classified memories and bodies worn down decades too soon. The cycle doesn't pause. It never has. It just begins again.